Hey, what's up everybody? 3D Theory here. Today is July 2nd, 2025 at 5 p.m. And this is 3D Printing Business Vlog number 2. I've got a couple of updates, some lessons learned, and a sneak peek at a project that's finally done after a wild design journey. Honestly, some weeks are packed with progress, and others feel a little quieter. But even the slower weeks have their stories. This one's all about seeing how a project I was working on come to life, learning a few hard lessons on how much an FDM 3D printer can handle, and as always, wrestling with my arch nemesis, the traditional animation desk keychain. First up, the Etsy front. Sales have been, well, let's call them chill this week. Not bad, but not crazy either. I got one sale since last week's 3D printing vlog, and it is the traditional animation desk pen cup. If you're running a small 3D print shop too, you'll know what I mean. Some weeks feel like a roller coaster, and others are just a slow, scenic train ride. I didn't get to list many new products recently, but that changed this week. As of today, I've got 5 listings up on my Etsy shop. I'm pumped because I finally finished and listed my elephant jewelry dish. And that makes a total of 5 listings on my Etsy shop. This one's been in the works for a little while, and let me tell you, it turned out a lot better than I hoped. So here's how it all went down. I started with the main shapes in Maya, getting the proportions and silhouette right, making sure the dish was actually useful and not just decorative. And once the base was dialed in, I brought the elephant into ZBrush to add some sculpted details and really give the elephant some character. Here's where things got a little messy. My first try at the mandala design on the tray was honestly a little too ambitious. As you can tell, I had all these super fine lines and details that look gorgeous in 3D, but when I printed it, the FDM printer just couldn't capture them with the 0.4mm nozzle, and all the beautiful lines turned to mush. But here's the lesson. Not everything that looks good in 3D will end up printing well, especially with FDM. I had to rethink my whole approach to detail. With my thickness card tests in hand, available on my Maker World, I went back into Maya and modeled a new version of the mandala. I focused on bolder shapes, deeper lines, and patterns that actually show up in PETG. And as you could tell here, when I printed the second version, boom, the details finally popped. You could see every line, every arc, and the tray looks so much more professional. It felt awesome to see that effort pay off. And honestly, I was way more proud of the finished product once I knew that the first version flopped. After that, I carried the same design language onto the elephant and kept the mandala vibe, but only as bold, printable shapes. It also added a heart on its chest for added good vibes. For the final touch, I swapped out my usual all-gray PETG for test prints for a nice brown color on the tray and kept the elephant classic gray. The contrast just works. I'm always amazed at how much color choice changes the whole vibe of a print. And just between you and me, when I finally uploaded the listing to Etsy, I had a little victory dance. And honestly, it's just one product, but it feels really good to see it in the shop after so much work. I wanted to talk about what it's actually like running a 3D printing business like this, since I know a lot of you are thinking about starting your own Etsy shop, or maybe you're in the thick of it already. Honestly, it's a lot of iterating, patience, and learning to love the process of designing in 3D. Then printing it out, discovering improvements, applying them in design, then just rinse and repeat until it's ready. This elephant project was a perfect example. Sometimes looking back at the failed prints, the trays that were too complex for FDM printers, details that didn't show up, or tolerances that were too loose, it's easy to get frustrated. But every one of those prints taught me something about print orientation, about level of detail, about color choice, and about what actually looks good to customers. So if you're struggling to get a design right, don't beat yourself up. Even after years of 3D modeling, I still have weeks where the 3D printers humble me. And of course, it wouldn't be a week at the tiny 3D print farm without mentioning the traditional animation desk keychain. This project is the definition of work in progress. Every time I think I've nailed it, I find something else to improve. Right now, they're a little too loose for my taste after switching back to a 0.2mm nozzle from a 0.4mm nozzle. And really, I want to combine the shelves with the desk so they print as one piece instead of having to glue them on after. It sounds simple, but with how small these parts are, every 0.1mm makes a difference. I'm even thinking about combining the animation disc with the plexiglass part to make assembly easier if it works. It'll save me time, and I'll be able to stock more units for when customers are ready to order. If you've ever done a project with lots of moving parts, you know the pain. Sometimes it just feels like all you're doing is prototyping. But I'm determined to get this right, and when I do, it'll be the most satisfying keychain I've ever made. And hey, if you've ever had a project that just refused to cooperate, share your story in the comments. Misery loves company, right? So that's this week. One new product up on the Etsy shop, another still deep in development, a totally new product coming soon, and a lot of lessons learned along the way. It's not always glamorous, but it does feel good holding the final product in your hand after getting it right. Every challenge just means you're making progress. And if you're working on a project that's driving you nuts, or if you've just had a breakthrough after a bunch of failed prints, let me know. I love reading your stories. And if you want more behind the scenes, honest updates, or if you just want to see if I could finally beat the traditional animation desk keychain, make sure to subscribe and stick around. Thanks for watching. 3D Theory here. Until next time, peace, love, and joy.